In ancient Rome, having or not having a beard was not just a matter of taste. It was almost like wearing an invisible uniform that said who you were. While some groups, such as philosophers, artists, and peasants, kept their beards without much concern among the powerful in the city, a clean-shaven face became a trademark. For them, being clean-shaven was a sign of status, order, and even respect for the strictest Roman traditions. It's not that the Romans always hated beards. The problem is that, over time, they came to be associated with people considered more rustic, simpler, and this was something that the nobles wanted to avoid at all costs. Imagine a senator arriving at the Senate with an unkempt beard. He would be seen as someone who had not yet become fully civilized. In a society obsessed with discipline and appearance, every detail counted, and a clean face spoke volumes. Hold on. Before I continue, I need your help. YouTube will only share this video with more people if it has a lot of interaction. In other words, without your comment, this knowledge could be buried and never reach those who need it. If this content makes sense to you, comment 1. If you disagree, comment 0 and tell me why. I want to see at least 100 comments here so that YouTube understands that this subject needs to be spread. So comment now and be part of this mission to reveal the secrets of ancient Rome. One of the major turning points in Roman style came from admiration for a non-Roman figure, Alexander the Great. Although the Greeks valued long beards as a symbol of wisdom, Alexander broke this mold. He preferred a smooth, clean-shaven face, and this did not go unnoticed in Rome. Many Roman generals who saw Alexander as an unbeatable model of leadership began to copy his appearance. It was as if the act of shaving was also a gesture of alignment with an idea of power, control, and modernity. Names such as Pompey, Mark Antony, and Julius Caesar adopted a clean-shaven face not only for aesthetic reasons, but to communicate an identity of command and greatness. More than vanity, it was a strategic choice. By presenting himself as someone civilized and refined, the Roman general reinforced his authority. And so, the beardless style gained ground, not by chance, among the most influential men in Rome. Over time, the beardless look stopped being just a fashion among generals and began to represent something bigger, a kind of code of conduct for the Roman elite. If you were part of the upper echelons of society, whether in politics, the army, or commerce, being clean-shaven showed that you were disciplined, trustworthy, and committed to the values of Rome. It was almost like wearing an invisible badge. Sculptures and portraits from the time reveal this clearly. Emperors, senators, magistrates, all portrayed with impeccably clean-shaven faces. This was no coincidence. In Roman culture, appearance and morality went hand in hand. A clean-shaven face symbolized self-control, sobriety, and control over one's own impulses, essential virtues for those who commanded armies or made important decisions. In this context, a beard was seen as something rough, almost slovenly, and in an empire that valued order above all else, a clean-shaven face became a silent symbol of authority. In ancient Rome, the barber, known as barber, was an essential figure in the daily lives of men, especially the richest. But don't think it was like today where you make an appointment, get a haircut, and leave. Back then, going to the barbershop was a real social event. Men didn't just go there to get a shave. They went to chat, exchange ideas about politics, discuss the rumors of the city, comment on Senate decisions. It was a space for socializing and influence. Tonsors. They were not only skilled with the razor, they were discreet, observant, and often well-informed, almost like unofficial advisors. Keeping one's appearance up to date was a must for anyone who wanted to be taken seriously in social and political circles. And this made barbershops a kind of silent stage where the image of the Roman citizen was shaped daily, with foam, blades, and lots of important conversations in the background. If shaving today requires a bit of attention, in ancient Rome the yobeid task was much more complicated and painful. The blades, made of bronze or iron, quickly dulled. This made the process longer and more uncomfortable, especially when the barber had to go over the same area of the face several times. Poets like Ovid and Juvenal even made fun of the suffering men suffered during shaving, showing how this common, act could be a real daily ordeal. But oddly enough, many Roman elites saw it as a kind of necessary ritual. Enduring the pain and keeping your face smooth despite all the discomfort was a way of demonstrating self-control and discipline, two highly valued virtues. The effort showed that the man was dedicated to his image, to order, and to tradition. In other words, it wasn't just about appearance, it was about what you were willing to endure to honor what it meant to be a true Roman citizen. In Rome, the moment when a young man shaved his beard for the first time was not just a matter of vanity, it was a true rite of passage. This event, known as deposition of the beard, marked the transition from youth to adulthood, usually around the age of 21, and it was not done just any old way. The shaved beard was carefully kept, and in many cases, offered to the god Jupiter, as a form of gratitude and request for protection during this new phase. The gesture had symbolic weight. The boy left behind the impulses and instability of youth, and assumed the commitment to the responsibilities of the adult world. For the most influential families, this ceremony was almost a public celebration. It was the moment when the young man presented himself to the world as a man, clean-shaven, honorable, and ready to serve Rome. A simple act of shaving carried decades of tradition, spirituality, and social expectations. Nothing was done by chance. As the Roman Empire grew, the image of emperors began to dictate society's behavior even more. From Augustus to Trajan, all leaders kept their faces clean, and this was not just for personal taste. It was a political and symbolic choice. The emperor needed to appear strong, disciplined, and rational, and a clean-shaven face conveyed exactly that. In times of expansion and strict control, every detail of the imperial appearance helped to establish authority in the eyes of the people. On coins, statues, and murals, the smooth features of the face became part of the visual identity of Roman power. In this context, beards seemed like noise, something unnecessary, even unwanted, in a system that valued order above all else. The emperor's appearance ended up influencing senators, magistrates, generals, and soon the model spread throughout the provinces as well. It was as if the ruler's style defined the standard for the entire empire. A clean face was more than just aesthetics. It was a declaration of loyalty to the Roman system. If this content is making sense to you so far, do the following. Give me a signal. Comment 1 below so I know you're with me on this journey. And remember, YouTube only spreads this knowledge if it has a lot of interaction. If you haven't commented yet, now is the time. I want to see this video full of opinions so that this topic continues to reach more people. Everything was moving in a well-defined pattern until Emperor Hadrian appeared. Unlike his predecessors, he appeared with something unusual for a Roman leader: a full, well-groomed beard that was visible in all the portraits and sculptures of the time. This caused a real cultural shock. Why? Because Hadrian deeply admired Greek culture, and among the Greeks, the beard was a symbol of wisdom and philosophical reflection. It was as if he wanted to align himself more with the thinkers than with the military. Some scholars even put forward another hypothesis. He may have grown his beard to hide some scar on his face. Whether for aesthetics, philosophy, or vanity, the truth is that his decision had a huge impact. For the first time, an emperor showed that it was possible to be respected and bearded at the same time. And this paved the way for a new phase in the image of Roman power. From that moment on, a smooth face was no longer an obligation, and the beard gained space on the throne. After Hadrian, the beard was no longer seen as an unusual detail and began to symbolize a new identity and power. Emperors such as Antoninus Pius, Marcus Aurelius, and Septimius Severus followed suit and adopted the bearded look with pride. However, unlike the old idea that the beard was something rude or unkempt, it was now associated with the image of wisdom, depth, and even a certain spirituality. Marcus Aurelius, for example, was also a Stoic philosopher, and his beard suited this role. Interestingly, this new look did not erase the value of Roman discipline. The difference is that, at that time, self-control began to be demonstrated, not by a clean face but by posture, decisions, and words. The bearded face of the emperor was now portrayed with nobility and solemnity. The image of power had changed, and the people followed suit. Just as a clean face had been fashionable, for centuries the beard became a new symbol of leadership and virtue in Rome. Over the centuries, the beard went from being a simple detail of the face to becoming a true cultural marker in Rome. It reflected ideologies, beliefs, political positions, and even power struggles. At first, it was rejected as something rustic, associated with less civilized peoples. Later, with Hadrian and his successors, it gained prestige as a symbol of wisdom, philosophy, and maturity. The most fascinating thing is to realize how, even at that time, appearance was used as a silent language, capable of communicating deep values without a word. Today, perhaps having a beard or not having a beard is just a style, but for the Romans it was identity. And now that you know this, tell me, if you lived in that time, would you follow the path of Julius Caesar or that of Marcus Aurelius? If this content has given you a new perspective, please leave a like. It really helps spread this knowledge to more people. And look, there's another video on the screen now that reveals a side of ancient Rome that almost no one knows about. Click on it. You'll be surprised by what awaits you. See you in the next video.